Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive into the Fury Warrior for the next expansion, Midnight. Everything you're losing, everything you're gaining, overall vibes, and what is the direction of the specialization? Is it good or is it bad? And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, first things first, please forgive me for the transmog on my character on the beta. Transmog is currently disabled, and unfortunately, that's a double bad thing for Fury Warrior because they're gonna let you transmog one-handed weapons now from two-handed weapons. It's similar to Survival Hunter. They'll be able to use one-handers, and so will Fury Warrior. So if you're a transmog aficionado and you've been wanting to wield one-handers, you will. Obviously, I can't do it right now for testing purposes because apparently doing that is like borked the entire system, and maybe that's why the beta was crashing so much on day one. But that's the first really like exciting thing with Fury Warrior that's coming forward. We're going to be gaining a lot of healing. That is something I want to point out that I think is very important. Warrior across the board. Honestly, Arms Warrior might be the beefiest class, and tankiness, even though, why would I talk about tankiness as a DPS class, right? Is the most important thing. Whether you're doing high keystones or you're doing PvP, durability is generally the most desirable quality. So this is something that you absolutely want. Some important things to note about that healing for Fury Warrior is talents like Field Dressing, which is just 3% more healing received, and then all self-healing will be increased by an additional 10%. Second Wind is a very potent mechanic right now. I don't know if it's going to get nerfed like it did previously with the War Within beta going into the release expansion, because it was in a very similar spot where you're just like borderline unkillable. It's a really powerful healing effect. You're able to get cheat death mechanics now as well with Last Stand, which is just a passive. Last Stand seems like a weird name because that used to be an active ability, but basically when you're dipping below 20% health, you're just going to gain 30% of your health and instantly heal that amount. And remember, we're increasing all self-healing by 10%. We have Bloodthirst healing still baked into our kit, as well as Impending Victory or Victory Rush. So we have a lot of layers of self-healing put onto the specialization, and even a cheat death mechanic, which are technically very desirable in endgame content. Obviously, damage output is the next most desirable trait. Another fun one, which is Kill or Be Killed, which has had a couple iterations. It used to be a capstone talent. Now it's moved up into a much more accessible zone. This is another cheat death mechanic where if you take lethal damage in the game, you then go immune to movement impairing effects, and you just basically can't die for a short amount of time. And if you manage to reverse and kill your killer, you'll basically resurrect. It's like a 5-minute cooldown. Interesting cheat death mechanic. I think that this mechanic, maybe it's not going to be that as big of a deal in PvE or competitive PvP environments, but in world PvP and 1v1s, getting 8 seconds of freedom from movement impairing effects to take down your target right when you would have otherwise lost with all of the other layers of cheat death mechanics that you have, make me think that Fury Warrior might be one of the best like dueling specializations when all is said and done, just based on the mechanics, regardless of the tuning. So that is the first most important quality that I think that we talk about right now is durability. Now, one thing that's interesting is that they're going to be taking away Bladestorm. And they've done this a couple of times on patches where it's like, you have Bladestorm, we're having fun, Fury Warrior, yay. And then like, no, we're taking that away. And I was surprised because when I was looking at the spell book, I was reading the talents and I'm like, where did Bladestorm go? And then it says it's in the arms tree for Bladestorm. So I don't know if that's going to be a permanent change or not, because our hero talent tree still mentions Bladestorm with Unhinged moving from the Arms Warrior baseline tree. So there's both Warrior baseline trees to the hero talent tree. So every 2 strikes of Bladestorm causes you to cast Bloodthirst. So obviously this is still early beta, because if they're going to take Bladestorm away, this talent can't obviously interact with something that you don't have. Losing Bladestorm is a big loss. Because it's a big crowd control immunity effect. It can save you narrowly in a lot of those types of situations. It's also just really fun to spin to win. So that is going to be felt as a significant loss. Now, some things that you are gaining from the Arms Warrior, which I actually found kind of surprising, is that you're getting Rend. So you're gonna have you can run Thunderclap Rend builds and apply bleeds to targets. You're also getting deep wounds. However, it's only applied through execute. And when I was testing with it, it seemed very bad. Now, the damage meters are obviously not working. I was trying to directly compare it side to side, but the main reason for it being bad was that your execute proc rate is really low. So then your uptime, therefore, of deep wounds is also very low. Now, maybe this changes in execute phases on bosses. And maybe that changes depending on if they can nail PvP tuning, where it's like more about sustained damage. You're spending more time at low health, so you're just in execute range more often. Really, time will tell, but in my initial assessment of it was that it just was like doing a pathetically low amount of damage. So you're getting some bleeds, but one of them probably not too great. The Rend one is kind of cool with the Mountain Thane build. That's why I wanted to check out Mountain Thane as the first hero talent tree specialization for this like testing purpose, because I thought that Rend would synergize really well with that. Maybe that's what they were trying to do to increase the viability of Mountain Thane. Now, another cool effect though that we are going to be gaining is Spear of Bastion, or I think it's Champion Spear. I hate when they rename things and change things, but you're able to dash to the target location with this now. So you can drop your spear, and you can press it again, and it heroic leaps you to the spear. So we're getting a little bit of mobility. Now we're losing the Blade Storm, which is going to be a loss of mobility. Avatar is also no longer removing roots. So we're losing a root break with Avatar, but we're gaining like a little bit of mobility here with Champion Spear. Hopefully they'll be able to fix the bugs with it where people can kind of just like walk out of it like willy-nilly, because I do think that that's likely going to be a big issue with the Champion Spear, is that it's just been bugged historically for so long. For a lot of you warriors out there who just refuse to keybind Hamstring, they're giving you a talent so that when you Stormbolt, Shattering Throw, Wrecking Throw, or Champion Spear, you will apply Hamstring to the target. So if you're one of those warriors who likes running in and just pressing your stun first global, you're going to also get to apply Hamstring, and your group will thank you for it. But mind you, you're going to have to lose a lot of throughput in order to get this, so I don't know technically how powerful, at least in PvP, this will be. But in PvE, you're going to be getting a silence. So you have a tremendous amount of disruption. Remember when I was talking about like increasing your viability? I think Warrior was like towards the bottom end of Mythic Plus competitive viability. So they're giving you a lot of durability, and they're giving you a lot of lockdown and crowd control when other classes are losing it, right? So you may have a chance here, at least in PvE situations, of jumping up, and even in PvP ones based on your overall durability. Now, do note that's really pending tuning, and if the tuning isn't hit properly, you just do 0 damage, then it won't matter how tanky you are. It won't matter how many silences you have if somebody does 4 times your damage. But with the amount of testing that this game is going to be getting over the beta, I don't think tuning is likely going to be a problem. There's a big dungeon test coming up. I'm going to try and participate in that as well, because I think it'll be hopefully a good idea of figuring out where the classes are sitting for hopefully when we will get a PvP testing phase, which, well, it wasn't highlighted on the like list of activities, so I was a little bit concerned with that. Now, when we look at Apex talents, this is one that when I reviewed it, when they revealed it for the first time, a lot of players were concerned about it. It's the Rampaging Berserker. It just increases rampage damage, but rampage builds stacks. And we were just talking about how like modifiers and stack tracking and all this stuff is like, like you don't want to do it, right? It's like a bit of a brain buster. And then as you build up these stacks, when you press Recklessness, it's going to give you strength for each one of those stacks that you've gained. You get some rampage cost reductions and just damage while berserking, and then rampage can extend this duration of the berserk. So this is adding a very high layer of complexity, because you have to make a choice on, do you want to keep building up stacks before pressing Recklessness, or do you want to press Recklessness on cooldown to get more use of Recklessness, right? So that's a lot of thought. That's a lot of thought. The Fury Warrior, before it was full rage, spend rage, full rage, spend rage, like not too much going on. But this is like, you got to make some calculations here, right? Like, you know that if you press Rec now, you'll get it for an important pull or a cooldown window against the players in PvP, or should you wait and then extend it all at once for this one vital moment? Now, obviously, if you're interested in that type of dynamic choice, that's going to be a fun mechanic for you. I don't know how many of you guys Fury Warrior, I've played Fury Warrior pretty much every patch as an alt. I don't know how many of the Fury Warrior mains want that much thought. Now, it likely when simming and all that stuff comes through, we're going to find out which use is better. Is it just better to press it with anger management and the cooldown reduction? You know, like there's also that synergy, right, that you need to consider. The longer you're sitting with rec available, the less value you're getting out of something like anger management. If you're running that talent, you'll have to consider that loss. I think you'll likely take these talents because it's just so much throughput towards Rampage. But the thought on how much strength, or should you just send it and it's just an extra bonus you don't have to think about? We have to wait until that's decided, because if it's just a extra strength on your rec and then you don't have to think, it's like, okay, well then it's not really that big of a deal, right? It's not going to be a huge issue. So that's my hope with it, at least. Now, I do believe that they added some talents where Berserker Rage removes crowd control effects. I wanted to check out here. So Fearless, cooldown in Berserker Rage is reduced by 50%, and Berserker Rage removes all movement impairing effects. So note how we talked about how our avatar is not removing roots. It's like Berserker Rage is going to be able to remove roots, I hope. Well, I don't know. Moving impairing could also just mean slow. It's a little bit lacking in details here. So it depends on if you want to go for like group mechanics, with the ability to remove fear from your allies, or like more personal uptime. And do note that a lot of classes' roots are being brought down significantly. So while you're losing root breaks, a lot of the classes that root are also losing roots. So it's like 1 for 1. You're probably honestly getting ahead with all of the extra little mobility spices that they're throwing in for you as a Fury Warrior. So you're probably ending up in like a decent spot. Tree still works basically the same, where you focus on Bloodthirst or single target towards the left, or you can focus on Whirlwind and kind of AoE damage towards the right. I'm honestly a big fan of the layout of the talent tree for Fury Warrior in that regard. Odin's Fury is still here, so if you do want to focus more around bleeds and Bloodthirst and deep wounds and rend, you'll be able to have that option. Or if you just want to focus around big cleaves, you're going to be able to do it towards the right side. So I can imagine with the tuning that's likely to come through here that this will work itself out as far as overall competitive viability. Hero talent trees for the Mountain Thane. Storm Surge. Avatar increases the damage of Thunderclap by 20%, reduces its cooldown. Lightning Strike just gets more damage and more crit strike damage. And during Avatar, Thunder Blast will extend Avatar's duration. So all of this extending, right? Like you can extend the duration of this strength. You can extend the duration of Avatar. You can run Anger Management for synergy to reduce the cooldown of all of these types of effects. So you're going to have like really big cooldown windows where you're just absolutely smothering massive damage output if you're able to get uptime. On the Slayer side, they're going to have to update this because it has everything to do with Bladestorm, right? You get 50% haste while you're Bladestorming, but you don't have Bladestorm. Executioner's duration, and then every 2 strikes of Bladestorm. So Slayer is still going to need some updates here. That or Bladestorm has just gone missing and it's not meant to be missing. I'm not sure. But as it stands right now, Bladestorm, not unless I'm missing something myself, but I scanned this talent tree a few times trying to find it, and Bladestorm was definitely missing. But let's talk about overall like rotation and vibe. So like, how does the class feel? So with the new Thunderclap, with this build, you get Thunder Strikes and Rends applied to the target, which do feel really cool. You still have Wreck, you still have Avatar and Odin's Fury for like these big cooldown pushes, and I really like the Thunder Blast, Thunderclap animations. I feel like this is like a fun kind of just cleave, smashy type of build. Obviously, you'd probably want to be focused more on the Whirlwind talents towards the right of the tree, unlike the current build that I have that I was just doing for my own personal testing. But you still have like a decent amount of keybinds. Sometimes it's hard to like know for sure what you're supposed to press next, especially if you're not like a Fury Warrior main. Like, should you be using Rampage on cooldown? Should you be using Thunderclap on cooldown? Should you be using Bloodthirst on cooldown? You still have like a decent amount of buttons. I kind of just smashed my way through the buttons, and there's probably a more optimal way of doing it. But I noticed that this is just gets me through it. But I would say rotationally, Fury Warrior, just because of how many binds it does have, is actually not one of the more simple specs in the game like it used to be. But you can see the cooldown reduction, the benefits there with the Avatar and the Recklessness, all the Thunder Blast extensions on this Avatar also. So I would imagine during Avatar you want to prioritize Thunderclap for the extensions and try and get as much uptime of it as you can. Although it does look like it has a cap. I'm pressing Thunderclap. I guess it's only if you have a Thunder Blast proc with it. So you get a couple of extra seconds of it, but not too much. And then Avatar, as it's ending here, I'll have about 45 seconds before the next one, which is a really good, kind of like uptime between the two. I like the incorporation of Rend into the build. I don't really like missing Bladestorm. I feel like losing Bladestorm is going to be, you're going to get hit pretty hard by that as far as getting crowd controlled quite frequently. But aside from that, rotation is it's still feeling about the same. I think that the kit and the direction of the specialization is likely going to put in a spot where it's going to be competitive. It seems like they go through these waves of like when a spec is number 1 for too long, they rip it down to the bottom, and then if a spec is at the bottom for too long, they boost it up to the top for a patch or two. So I think Fury Warrior, that you might be in that cycle, right? This is me trying to make a prediction. This might be wrong, but if I had to guess, that's usually how things go. I think you're in the cycle where this could be like the Fury patch, much like how the last patch, at least in Mythic Plus, for example, was the Fury or the Feral patch. In PvP, I think things tend to actually get balanced out a lot more equally. Mythic Plus seems to still kind of go in trends of certain specs being much better than others, but in PvP, actually, things end up being pretty well balanced overall. So Fury Warrior, gaining some things, losing some things. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I just wanted to give you guys a deep dive, my experience with it so far on the beta, as it is a specialization that I play pretty much every season. It's nice to have the the zug, and I'm excited about the one-handed transmog change here, and I wonder if you'll have one two-hander, one-hander, and how that's all going to work out, or how that's going to look as far as aesthetics. But I think it's looking like it's going to be a viable option, although you do directly compete with arms, and arms looks really cool right now. So that's the only tough part about being a Fury Warrior, is that you're directly competing with arms on the same class. But thank you guys very much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and I will see you in the next one.